Good morning, YouTubers. So today this is going to be part 3 in our video, what to look for when buying a 70s Ford truck. Taking some of the feedback that I've gotten from you guys in regards to different things that I've said. And the one thing I couldn't really point out, and there again, if you're at the roadside looking at one of these trucks, you're not going to be able to see some of the things that people were kind of saying, well, you should mention this. You know, you'd actually have to tear the truck apart. But going back to the cab here, this area in here is a common area that rots out. Same thing with down here. You can see where I've taken Rust-Oleum paint and I'm trying to color match to get this color as close as possible. You know, I've welded this in here and put some body filler there. Welded that chunk in over there. I still have to put some body filler there. You know, replaced this lower section of this cab support here, and of course the floorboards. But back to the front end, we're going to primarily cover the driver's side because everything that we say about the driver's side is going to, of course, invert over to the passenger. We're going to be talking about the passenger side, and everything that we say about the passenger side will invert over to the driver's side. So one of the first things really to look at when you're looking at a front end is this battery support. You know, if the truck's been sitting for a long time, this truck sat for 31 years, I believe it was, and the battery acid just ate right straight down through here. So I am not going to replace this. I'm actually going to repair it. If you want to see a video on that, I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But, you know, kind of moving forward, looking at this radiator support, you can see where, although the radiator support has not rotted through, this is 16 gauge metal here, it is pretty badly pitted. So I'm going to have to rust treat that. As you can see down in here with this cab support, this cab support's just about shot right here. But that is another good thing to look at. Another area is up in here where the hood hinge bolts on. A lot of times, you can't really see it, but I do have one pulled out. A lot of times debris will get up in there. You can see right in here where it's starting to bubble a little bit along that edge there. You know, anyway, dirt and debris will get up in there. There is, on the 77 through 79s, they did have a plastic inner fender that went in there, so make sure that's complete. Another thing to look at in the front end is a hood, and the hood is one of the things I really hate to repair. And the reason is you can have a perfect body job, but if you've got one little mistake on the hood, it sticks out and it kind of defines the rest of the body work. I'm going to repair this hood. It's not terrible. You know, you can see there's a bad spot down in here, but really where you want to look is the corners. Here, down there in the corner, and then this front edge. This inner piece isn't so bad because even if you mess it up, you can't see it, you know, unless you open the hood. So, you know, I don't really mind that. It's more up in here that I really hate to repair. So, of course, the other thing is looking through here. Make sure there's no rust holes in there. The grill, you know, of course, this grill is pretty beat up. If you want to see a video on how I straighten this out, these are actually, this one and this is actually pretty easy to straighten out. This one, though, anything in this edge here, because it's hard to get in behind there, those are not easy to repair. You know, looking at the front bumper, you can see this one is twisted up, the chrome's coming off. I'm actually going to save this front bumper because I will use this when I'm doing a Crown Vic front end. I'll cut this off here and just use this center section to hold the frame rails and keep them straight. It works good for that. And like I said, the one that I had I loaned out and never got back, so I'm going to do that to this one. We're going to move back here. And here you can see the inside of the fender better on this one. Rust and debris will get in behind here. I got this dirt cheap from a guy who didn't want to use it, and I saved it just for this piece right here because I knew I could save a fender with that. Not only that, this where the battery tray goes, this one's not in terribly bad shape. I'm going to cut this out and sister it in to the other one. Here we have a radiator support. Now, one thing that's important to remember with radiator supports, although aftermarket, they say from 73 to 79, any radiator support will fit. Aftermarket, that is true. But if you go to a swap meet or a guy's got a bunch of parts, you got to remember there's different generation radiator supports. And a 73 will not go into a 79 without cutting chunks out and kind of making it fit. And the same thing, a 79 won't go into a 73 without cutting chunks out. And the main difference is the headlight buckets. Where the headlight buckets go, the bolts, of course, you got a round headlight versus a square headlight. And how those buckets went in there were not the exact same on the different years. You know, 73 to 75, 76, 77 were a tiny bit different than 78, 79. So you have to remember, you may have to drill some holes in order to make your headlight buckets fit. Now, with this radiator support, as you can see, it's in terrible shape. But I'm going to actually save this one because I can cut pieces out for another radiator support that I've got. This piece right here, which is, you know, galvanized, is actually not in bad shape. And I can save a radiator support that would have one of these gussets in here that may be bad. I could probably save one with this. The other reason I'm going to save this is this top piece up in here. A lot of times when these trucks get in an accident, especially if something hits a hood, it'll bend this and tweak this right up in here. Well, I can cut this one out and sister it in. Because it's 16 gauge metal, it's thick enough that you can sister it in and have some good metal retention there. And then the last thing I want to kind of look at is the fender. You know, it's hard to see when you're alongside the road. This fender, rust-wise, isn't in terribly bad shape. You can see down and through here, this inner structure is pretty good. You know, you come up here to this front side, and you can see this is crushed up bad. There's a bulge right here. I don't know if the camera will show you. Yeah, you can see it right there. Bulge right there. I'm going to save this fender. You know, it's not going to be perfect. I am going to save it though, because I just don't want to put any money into this truck. But even if I was going to put a different fender on, I would still save this fender because this inner structure right here rusts out very commonly. And I can take this inner structure and put it onto another fender. So because that structure is in such good shape, I would save this fender, you know, at least from this point down, just to use as a parts fender. So like I said, you can see the truck's coming along. I've got the gas tank in, I've got the exhaust system in. I'm going to be doing a video later on today, now that this is hardened up, on welding that in with a flux core welder. I picked up a flux core welder right there, 115 volts, $125 on Marketplace. I've never used it. I saw that it turned on, and that was it. So I'm going to try it out. Like I said, it actually, you know, kind of works out. I'm out of my gas anyway, so I've got to go to Main Oxy and pick up another tank. But anyway, we're gonna try this sucker out and see how it works, and then go from there. So like I said, stay tuned to the final video in this set, which will be the rear body. We're going to cover, you know, what to look for, different ways to repair it, and how I'm going to repair the rear body for this truck. Of course, the original body was an 8-foot body. It was totally rusted out. And I have some bedsides that you can see up there. Not those ones, but some other bedsides that I picked up at a shipping auction that were badly damaged. Bought one of them for $225 and the other one for $100. So I don't have a lot of money into it. I've got a bed off of a 95, 96, and I'm going to take the 3 different beds, basically, put them all together and make one bed for under $500 for this. So when we do that video, we're also going to be covering, you know, what to look for when buying a $500 truck as far as the bed goes. So stay tuned to that video.